All right, today we are diving into a really fascinating and pretty radical challenge to how we normally think about evolution. It's an idea that asks us to just set aside the whole concept of random chance and instead imagine a universe that's just buzzing with information and life that is actively, intelligently responding to it.
Okay, so let's start with a classic example. Our journey into this theory begins with a creature that, honestly, is kind of the poster child for the problems with the mainstream view. It's an insect whose very existence seems to, well, stretch the idea of random accidents to its breaking point.
The author of the source material we're looking at, Mathis, puts it about as bluntly as you can. He's basically saying, look at a stick bug. I mean, really look at it. The way it perfectly mimics a twig. That level of precision is just too good, too exact, to be the result of a million tiny, random, lucky mistakes. And that, right there, is the million-dollar question. If the stick bug isn't just the result of a cosmic lottery win, then what's really going on here? If it's not a series of random mutations, what else could possibly be creating such a perfect, targeted adaptation? This is where the theory takes a sharp turn from the usual path. The whole idea here is that evolution isn't this passive thing, where accidents happen and the environment just cleans up the bad ones. No, this theory suggests it's an active process. It's a conversation, a feedback loop between the organism and its world.
So, you're probably thinking, how on earth would a feedback loop like that even work? I mean, how does a creature know what it needs to become without having eyes or a brain to figure it out? Well, to answer that, the theory introduces a physical mechanism, a kind of hidden universal information network. It's called the charge field. And I want you to picture it like this. Imagine a constant, invisible river of photons flowing through, well, everything. But here's the key. It's not just random energy. Think of it more like a universal Wi-Fi signal. This field is carrying data, specific information about the world that plugs every single organism directly into its environment. And here's the proposed physics of how it all works. As you can see, it all starts with the sun, pumping out this charge. Planets like our Earth then act like giant antennas, sucking it in at the poles. It travels right through the planet's core and then gets re-emitted all over the surface, literally bathing all of us in this constant stream of information. So, what does this field actually allow for? Well, this is the crucial part. It provides a real, physical way for information about the outside world to get to every single cell in a body. A creature doesn't need eyes to see its surroundings because the data is being delivered directly to its building blocks. This sets the stage for a purposeful, informed response, not just an accident.
Okay, that brings up the next obvious question, right? If the charge field is the broadcast signal, what's the radio? If this river of information is flowing through an organism, who or, what is actually reading it and deciding what to do with it? Now, this is where the theory completely flips the script on how we think about our own biology. The mainstream view sees enzymes as these passive little robots. They just follow the instructions written in the DNA. But this theory, it suggests they're the active agents. They're the intelligent architects who are reading the information from the charge field and then writing and editing the DNA code themselves. And the evidence for this bold claim? Well, part of it is the sheer speed and crazy precision of their work. DNA gets replicated at a rate of about 1,000 nucleotides per second. Just think about that. The theory argues that this is way too fast and way too accurate to just be molecules randomly bumping into each other in the right way. Something deliberate has to be guiding the process. And the author points out that even in mainstream biology, the stuff enzymes do is so complex and unexplained, it's almost magical. They really are the ghost in the machine, performing these incredible feats that we don't fully understand. So this theory says, let's stop ignoring that and actually make it a central part of how evolution works. So let's say we go with this idea for a minute. We've got an information field and we've got intelligent enzymes. How does that actually play out in the real world? How does this partnership explain all the different kinds of changes we see in nature, from the temporary to the truly permanent? Well, the theory breaks it down into 3 levels. First up, you've got temporary, real-time change. A chameleon is the perfect example. Its body is directly responding to visible light, which is just a form of this charge field, to change its color on the fly. It's a direct, immediate response to the environment that doesn't mess with the DNA at all. Then you have level 2, Radical but pre-programmed change. I mean, look at a butterfly. The enzymes take the exact same DNA that built a caterpillar and then completely reinterpret it to build a totally different creature. The argument here is that this proves the genetic code isn't some fixed blueprint. It's more like a versatile script that enzymes can use in totally different ways.
And that brings us right back home to our stick bug. This is levels 3, permanent change. In this case, the enzymes are reading the environmental info from the charge field and then making a purposeful, lasting edit, a mutation, directly to the DNA. And that change gets passed on to the next generation. That's how you get a permanent adaptation. So when you put all of this together, it leads to some pretty huge implications. If this framework is even close to being right, it forces us to completely redefine the driving force of life itself. It really makes you ask, is evolution just a series of accidents, or is it an intelligent response? And one of the biggest takeaways is this proposed redefinition of the word mutation. In this model, it's not a mistake. It's not a random copying error, like a biological typo. A mutation is a deliberate, purposeful edit made to the genetic code by enzymes that are acting on information they've received from the world around them. This chart does a really good job of showing where this idea fits in. You've got standard natural selection, driven by random chance. Then there's an older idea called orthogenesis, which imagined some kind of internal drive toward a goal. This theory creates a new lane. It's an informed response, where the environment and the enzyme are working together as the real drivers of change. You know, this theory even offers a new take on things like radiation-induced mutations. The idea isn't that X-rays physically smash the DNA to bits. Instead, they create a ton of noise and static in the charge field. It's like information pollution. This just confuses the enzymes, causing them to misread the data and make bad edits to the genetic code.
Ultimately, this whole framework pushes us way beyond biology and right into philosophy. It forces us to ask a really deep question about life itself. Where does intelligence actually begin? At what point does a simple, automatic machine become a complex being with choice, with volition?
And the theory's answer is pretty mind-blowing. The answer is there is no level. There's no magic line. Intelligence doesn't just flicker on when something gets complicated enough. If it exists in us, it must be a fundamental property of matter itself. It has to exist all the way down to the most basic parts.
And that quote really is the logical endgame of this whole argument. You are just a collection of your parts, your cells, your enzymes. So the theory argues that you can't logically say, I'm intelligent, but the fundamental things that build and maintain you are not. It's either all intelligent or none of it is.
So what have we talked about today? We've explored a theory that suggests evolution isn't random, but is an active response, that this response is guided by an information network called the charge field, and that the intelligent agents making it all happen are enzymes. And if there's any truth to that, if intelligence isn't something that just happens in brains, but is a basic property of matter itself, well, what else are we missing?